Okay, well, here, let's take the second case I think you're referring to. We've got the Gatorade campaign, where, again, mostly traditional brand goals. I mean, you wouldn't even necessarily expect a CPG company to be interested in what happens online. I mean, although Procter & Gamble gave us a nice exception to that rule before. For this campaign, here's some of the creative, just for color.
I think I was just going to say Gatorade is a really cool example because no one has any intention of buying it online, right? And so you're really using the internet like a magazine or like TV. And so one of the things that I often tell when I give advice about creative, and glad we're looking at the creative here, is that if you think of the internet as a very well-targeted magazine, you're able to create nice creative. And so if you have a creative where it could fit on a magazine and look beautiful there, if you were the owner of a well-thought-of magazine, you wouldn't be embarrassed to have these ads there, then that means you've created a good ad that's going to work on the internet. And just look at these creative. You've got product shots, which we know work well. You've got human forms. Ads are simple. And so these are ads that we would expect to work well online. And
not contrary to that expectation, the survey results came back like this. There were strong increases in awareness and in purchase intent for Gatorade from this campaign. You can see focused out on the left-hand side, unaided brand awareness. That is to say, people just mentioning the brand without any prompt rose a full 7% for a brand that's already quite well known. That's nothing to sneeze at. At the same time, as we measured the impact of the campaign online, maybe surprising to us even to compete, like the online activities just went off the charts as people were exposed to this campaign. View through to the Gatorade sites increased almost fivefold, and even brand term search activity increased by an important margin.
Yeah, if you look at that creative, it's not fancy, but when you see it, it seems fun. It seems entertaining. And I think the expectation for a consumer is that if they go to the site, they're going to be entertained. Maybe they're going to see an athlete do their workout. Maybe they're going to learn something about Tiger Woods or someone else who's involved in Gatorade. So I think I think that explains the view through to the Gatorade sites.
Now, with this one, I'd like to ask kind of a tough question that I don't have a good answer to. We've got a lot of these metrics agreeing. Are corroborating metrics, if they agree, are they redundant? I mean, couldn't we just use one of these as a proxy for the other? Couldn't someone just use compete and not use a dynamic logic survey?
I really think that it's always great to have more data, and they don't always corroborate. And it's actually when they don't that you can often learn more insights, because it makes you think another step. What was going on with the creative? What was going on with the targeting? Take another look at things. And corroboration is always a good thing, because then you know something's not a fluke. You know that the sample is good and the data quality are good. So corroboration is never a bad thing.
Let's see what we can draw from the third example. This was again for an automotive brand. In this case, there were explicit goals both for brand and online activity. And it was probably of the three campaigns we're looking at, one of the most broadly run across media. For this one, the team suggested we look at the impact of exposure frequency on the various metrics. So as you read this table here, as we go toward the right, we're measuring the responses of people in the survey if they were exposed to more ads. So the rightmost column is, say, people exposed 20 or more times to the ad. And you can see that as people were exposed more to the ad, to the campaign, awareness did increase. So say that second row in particular, you can see that unaided brand awareness that we talked about previously increased pretty much with each successive band of exposure. But at the same time, purchase consideration was flat or even fell as people were exposed more. Now, when we take that and looked at what happened with frequency for people's online behavior, their behaviors did rise. In fact, quite a bit. So, you know, in fact, what we're seeing here is that as people are exposed more to the ad, they are literally considering, you know, this auto brand more than they had, say, if they'd only been exposed once or not at all. So, Guru Ken, I mean, you know, do contrary metrics leave us with any basis for action, or kind of take our feet out from under us?
Yeah, I think what's interesting with the auto category is that, you know, at any given time, not that many people are in market to buy a car. And the same would hold for something like baby category, pet category. Most of the advertising, unless you do a real good job targeting or you're doing a very good job being in context, most of the advertising is essentially going to be wasted. And when we do our survey research on the brand metrics, we're surveying the entire media plan. And so a lot of the people that are answering those surveys are not in the market to buy a car. And when they've seen an ad 20 times, guess what they're going to say when they're asked a survey? The brand that's their most top of mind is the one that they're going to avoid checking the box on when they're asked about purchase intent, because that's the one that's going to be the most top of mind. They're not in the market to buy a car. I've just seen, you know, 25 ads for this particular brand. Darn right, I'm not going to check that box. I'm getting irritated at this point. On the other hand, when you look at the behavioral metrics, what you can see is that it's not different. I mean, it's more differentiating. So the people that are going to the site, the people that are taking post-view actions are amongst the portion that are in the market. And so it's perfectly reasonable to see increases in site visitation as you know, as frequency increases amongst that audience. So I think.
Yes. Could you say, I mean, that, so if I understand this right, then say as you might find through a campaign, and particularly one that you say has, you know, maybe a target and some people out of target, you might expect, say, top 2 band responses, people who are most favorable, that group might shrink, but the activity within the group might increase, or? Yeah,
I think what ends up happening is that the survey instrument is not quite granular enough. You know, the survey instrument is asking people, how likely are you to purchase this vehicle in the next 30 days or 60 days or whatever. And you're just not going to lift that for a typical auto campaign. I think our norm for autos is around 0.5%, 0.8%. And so it's very, very difficult metric to lift. On the other hand, when you're looking at something very granular, like the percentage of people that actually end up going to a site and how that relates to frequency, I think you can see effects. And that's why it's so great to have the behavioral data to add to the survey research to really help understand what's going on.